Yeah.
G'day everyone and welcome back to Baggers Unfiltered 26. I'm joined by
Louis from the Perth Blue Baggers pod, as always.
and the annual Father's Day podcast has returned. So I've got my dad Lenny and Louis got his dad Marty. Thank you both for coming on. How are you?
Well, so it's great to be on,
here.
Henry. And yeah, great to be here.
Lovely to hear. So basically, the
Yeah,
whole
look forward
podcast
to
is
this.
just going to be. The whole podcast is just going to be about a season review on what was a horrific 2025 season, to put it in them words. Definitely not the expectation that we had at the start of the year, but I want to hear everyone's thoughts, so let's rip into it.
Righto. I can go first. It's my word that I like to use is underwhelming. Really, rarely any highlights, mostly low lights. And there was only a couple of solid wins. All the rest were either shaky in parts, and then of course our losses were very demoralising week after week, starting from round one against Richmond, which we should have seen. It was a precursor for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I'd say we hear the word disappointing quite a lot. This was a particularly disappointing season because I think we entered the season with a lot of promise. There was a bit of a sense that we only disappointed last season because of injuries. And after making the preliminary final in 23, heap of injuries in 24, we thought we'd really bounce back. But you nailed that. First round one showed some of the problems.
Yeah.
And we were able to win lots of the footy, but we just never used it well. We never moved the ball quickly a lot of the time. So we tended to beat most of the teams below us on the ladder, but we fell well short of the teams above us.
True. Henry loves the word disappointing.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So
love it.
No rage voting. Is that...
I can only agree with all of that, and it's going to be hard to find a lot of positives to come up with in the review. But I think before round one, the wind was taken out of our sails. Obviously, we invested a lot in young Jagger, and we all were excited to see him play. So to see him go down was pretty gut wrenching. Obviously, Newman is structurally really important, so to lose him was wind out of the sails is the best I can say. And then, we probably expected a little bit of luck to go our way on the back of last year's injury curse, and it really felt like much of the same. We had so many key players out for large stretches. Harry, Elijah, the sort of mental health issues, Walsh with his back again, Akers, with his back and his shoulder and his elbow and just about every other joint. It was, apart from that round one loss, actually 0-4 was the reality. There's really no coming back from there. And those compounding injuries, it felt like it was all uphill this year, and probably one of the harder years I've had to endure as a Carlton supporter.
True. I'm just waiting for it to end. Probably since that North Melbourne loss in whatever round it was, 14, I think. And maybe even that Giants loss too was pretty bad too. So never really got on a run. Never looked. Maybe once after winning against Geelong, we looked somewhat contendable, but it was quickly evaporated the next week, essentially against Adelaide, who completely tore us apart. Not on song there. I mean, you could go into every game, every of our losses, and find common mistakes. The same problems were crystal clear. The same problems kept repeating week after week, and it was just so. What's the word to say?
Can't say disappointing.
No,
apparently Henry doesn't like that word.
Substandard. Anyway, any question? What's the next question?
I think the next question was, have we actually had any positives this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I might throw a couple. I actually thought quite a few of our younger players played really well and showed a fair bit of promise. So a lot of the established players didn't live up to their mark, but Matty Carroll was really good. This is the guy who got delisted and then picked up on the supplementary list and played practically all games, most of the games of the year. Cooper Lord showed a lot of improvement. Ashton Moyes showed signs. How good did Harry O'Farrell look before he got injured as a key back? And that often key backs take a long time to develop. So, I mean, there's a guy with a huge amount of talent there. And a few other guys showed bits and pieces of form. The last month by Frankie Evans was pretty good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a younger Flynn Young was all right. You know, there's some younger players that showed a bit of talent, a bit of poise. Lockie Cowan had a very good second half of the season. So I think that if there's one positive takeaway, those injuries did give a few of those younger players an opportunity.
Yeah,
The question
I
I
agree,
would-
Marty. I think. Oh, sorry, you go, Louis.
Yeah. The question I would raise, though, is did we wait too long to play some of these younger players? Were we too stagnant with our list team lineups before?
I think that's been a trend for Voss. Is he's never placed a lot of trust in the younger players, and often when guys have come in, it's been for snippets. 1 maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's probably fortunate at some exposure this year. I'd particularly point to Cowan and Lord. I think the growth in their games has been exponential, and they look like footballers. They look like really serious footballers. They're sort of a little bit hard and a little bit dogged, and a little bit old school almost in the way they approach the game, which I really like. Carroll had moments, but yeah, gee, we can use that left peg more. That was really nice. And then if you told me at the start of the year that Frankie Evans would be the highlight of my Carlton viewing for the entire year, I would have laughed in your face. But his last month was incredible. So yeah, I hope that Voss has learned a little from being forced into this situation that you need to see these guys over a little bit of a 1 or 2 weeks is not going to tell you a lot about a young player trying to find their feet.
Yeah, good point. I mean, Harry O'Farrell started slowly, I think, in his first game, but by the time he was 3 games in, he was taking huge marks. You just got to persist with a couple of young guys, don't you?
And so we did. So kudos to the coaching for getting that sort of aspect right. But yeah, I mean, I think that question is valid. Henry?
So who did we like? Who did we like among our senior, more established core? Is there any? I mean, we sort of have to look to the kids because there's not a lot else to talk about. But did any of the guys improve their standing? The guys who've been with us 3, 4, 5 years and more.
I mean, there's one guy I wanted to single out, George Hewitt. I thought he was sensational. He had an awesome season. And probably the one other guy that really surprised me is how well Nick Haynes played as a recruit. Yeah. I thought he was really good too.
Yes.
No spring chicken, but played a great season, I thought.
Yeah.
So two rounds in, I was quite happy to drive him back up to Sydney myself. But yeah, once he sort of found his feet, and he was pretty solid, wasn't he, for most of the year? So I still question whether we needed him or not, but the fact that he carried himself in such a manner is pretty positive.
Yeah, I think it's added something to the back line. I think I have some stats here, maybe, about a positive on our defensive strength. Ranked top 5 defensively across points against, scores per inside 50, and chain to score against. So not bad there. So we improved. That was clearly a problem last year. I think something we certainly analysed at the end of the year was our lack of defensive accountability, but we improved in that sort of facet. So, and maybe that was because of the addition of Haynes and probably Silvani.
But probably the one other senior player I thought who had a pretty good season, probably his best season at the club, I reckon, was Zach Williams. He played most of the season, and he was a real spark either up forward or on the ball. So I was pretty happy with how he played overall. He's often been injured, unfortunately, a lot of his time at the club.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him get out in the park consistently.
Yeah, 21 games, probably his best haul in his career, I think.
He's just a good positive presence too on the field. Like, he obviously loves a goal, but just to have someone who plays with a little bit of spirit. I liked some of his cameos in the middle. I don't think I want to see him there. I mean, we brought him to the club with the hope of him being a midfielder, and it's never really panned out. But I think, yeah, certainly to inject him 5 minutes here and there is an option. And yeah, I just love his infectious joy of playing footy.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a pinch hitter, isn't he? And I thought he's a bit of a chaos forward. He's a kind of guy you kick it along the ground to the forward line, and then you make something out of nothing sometimes. You need those kind of guys, don't you?
Yeah. So he was good. Something we lacked last year, and then we found him probably mid last year, I think, too. And then I think we should discuss some of the leaders who dropped off, most importantly. So you got Cripps, who, you have to forgive him. He's had a brilliant career. Just a little down this year, probably disposal-wise and inside 50-wise, I think, but still reasonably solid clearance and contested.
I mean, I think
this was his. Sorry, Marty, you go.
I was just going to say, Lenny, most of our senior players were down. Actually,
yeah,
we've named them the exceptions. I thought most of the senior players were down, but Lenny, you just talk about Cripps first, and then I'll talk about a few others.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's sort of been the pattern of the back end of his career, as he's almost sort of been year on, year off, and I think it is largely. I mean, I don't think it's anything to do with him. We're not questioning a dual Brownlow medalist. I think it's just physically what can he do, and I think he's been really hampered by his back this year. And that was certainly the case in pre his last Brownlow as well. He had a pretty quiet couple of years compared to his high standards. So. I don't know. I think he's also the sort of guy who forces himself out there, perhaps when, if we were in a slightly better situation, we might be able to give him a break here and there. And it's not, unfortunately, it's just not the case at Carlton at the moment. He probably has to be out there, and he really pushes himself to be out there. And so maybe, with an off season, he can ride himself again and surprise us. But yeah, in terms of the other senior players, I mean, I thought Wettering started really well and maybe drifted a bit towards the back end of the year, maybe not to the standard of his last 3 years, which were all Australian and all Australian squad. At the other end, Charlie sort of zoomed in and out and looked disinterested at times and looked electric at times, and just did what Charlie does. He probably forces me to yell at the television more than most Carlton players. And yeah, the other guy, I mean, there's just so few of the senior core that got a look in terms, none of them had continuity in their game, simply because of injury. So, God, we must be due for a good year, mustn't we, on the injury front?
One of those examples, Lenny, that you're talking about is Sam Walsh. I mean, how many years has Sam Walsh had an uninterrupted year with injury?
2021 was probably the last time, I think.
I mean, he came back very late in the season and showed us what he was capable of, but he missed 2/3 of the season probably with injury. That's one of our absolute most.
Yeah, I mean, and the 23 final series, Sam Walsh is the Sam Walsh that that we need. We don't just want; we absolutely need him. And yeah, unfortunately, we haven't seen that level since.
Tom De Koning started the season with his first 5 or 6 games. He was close to best on ground, but he really faded a lot after that. He's obviously gone, and I think St Kilda's paying him way too much. But there's another guy that probably didn't have the year we would have liked either.
True. Saad, raise him.
I thought Saad dropped off a lot. Saad's often been one of my favourite players to watch, but we didn't see the run that we normally get from Saad. and we didn't see the carry and those long raking left kicks and whatever else. He was playing very deep in defence most of the time, and just sort of threw the ball in the boot a lot of the time. And I didn't see. I mean, he should be the half-back weapon more. So I'm not quite sure why he was playing so deep, but we didn't seem to get the metres gained out of Saad that we would have liked.
No.
No, and so many he playing so safe, so many dinky little kicks and sideways kicks, and no actual drive in his game, which is why he's there and why he's well paid. Probably Akers is the other one. I mean, we forgive Akers his sins by foot because he works so hard and gets so much ball and is defensively positions himself well, and he's brave. But this year he didn't get near it. I assume he's injury restricted as well. So these guys who are late 20s, rising 30, who we should be just absolutely relying on week in, week out. Unfortunately we can't, or we certainly weren't able to this year.
One of our biggest weapons normally is Harry Mackay,
Yeah.
and he missed a lot of the season in between sort of off-field issues and injuries. And he showed glimpses when he was playing.
Yeah.
of
7-goal haul.
but that only served to demonstrate what we've been missing,
Yeah.
really, with him not being on the park enough.
And I mean, his end of the year, he looked like the best key forward in the game at times, over the closing weeks. And I don't know if it's because the pressure was off and our season was, dead in the water, or what it might have been. But God, on his night or his day, if we could unleash that a little bit more, and maybe that's just the variance in our players is the issue. The difference between their best and their worst on any given day is there's so few players that we can just rely on to do their job. I think if you look at the teams that are slogging it out in finals at the moment, they have pretty solid core of players that they can rely on to just get the job done.
Yeah. Ollie Hollands was probably the most consistent player we could probably rely on throughout the season. Probably shouldn't be in the back line. I think he was a replacement for Newman. He's probably better on the wing, which we might see next year. Who knows? But they did stick with that decision throughout the year, so it wasn't like a mismatch thing. So, I mean, plenty of growth in him still, I would say.
I just love his effort. I mean, this is a guy, he doesn't use the ball all that well by foot, which is a shame. But you can't fault his effort, and week in, week out, it's pretty consistent. Goes hard.
Yeah.
He's
passion for monogram.
I mean,
another thing that was missing. From
you guys use the word disappointing too much. Unconditional is a word that I really like in football and probably use too much. And I think Ollie's falls into that bracket. He's unconditional. He's a wholehearted footballer, and he's only a half decent kick away from being a really effective footballer. He's such a powerful runner, and I think he approaches the game in the right way. And if only he could find some, he doesn't need to. He only needs to be average. He doesn't need to be, amazing by foot. But if he could be sort of AFL average, I think that would really unlock his game further.
Yeah. Vossi eventually announced towards the back end of the season our needs. A bit of elite kicking, good ball use, and a bit more speed. But I don't know why it took them so long to realise that. They probably already knew, but I think you'll be seeing some of that being targeted in the trade and draft period at least, hopefully.
I think Jagger Smith was supposed to be elite running, quick midfielder with speed and good by foot. But of course, we might need to wait till next season for that.
Yes.
I think ball retention really needs to be a focus. Sorry, Louis. We've got some cross-continent delay. I think ball retention really needs to be a focus, and perhaps sometimes we value players too much who can find the footy rather than those who can use it. And again, I've got to come back to Frankie bloody Evans in that last month. The way he used the ball and the composure and the decision making, if we can find a couple of more rough diamonds like him, I'll be all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think we lowered the eyes enough coming inside 50 to try and spot up a good target. We just sort of bombed it a lot of the time. Took too long to get it there and then bombed it long anyway.
Efficiency inside 50, something that was a crystal clear problem every single game, going only about 20% goal efficiency every week, and it did not improve every time we thought it could. So that's not going to win you games. And you see all the finals teams playing right now who are winning are the ones that are converting their chances. Hawthorn today, Collingwood, and Geelong all probably didn't win their inside 50 counts, but they were able to convert to goals more efficiently than the other team. So here's a few issues based on stats. So we ranked bottom 5 in intercept to score, halfback to score, and scores per inside 50. So obviously it just looks outdated. The game style looks outdated and stagnant.
I think
that fits the eye test too.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing watching us, because I think that just the same problems seem to plague us game after game. So we didn't seem to be able to fix them.
No. And me and Henry, we were banging on about these issues, and it was very disappointing in how they weren't able to recover from it. It was just, I just can't believe how you can't fix these sort of issues. And another issue that I want to raise, mental fragility. You can see the first goal of every second half.
Well done, Louis. I was about to say that.
Yes. It's a psychological problem as well, not only skill issue. So I don't know how you're meant to fix that. I think the best way to fix it is probably win some games through confidence against quality opposition. I think it's just a confidence issue. I'm sure the psychologists are probably working through it. They've got more expertise than us.
I would, and again, we're just layering negative on negative on negative here, but when you don't have a good system to fall back on, and when it's not drilled into you, I mean, Carlton, when we look good, it's largely because we're kamikaze and we're unpredictable. I don't think there's any great system to our game. And I think when things start to go against us, there's no great defensive system to our game, and we're not quite sure how to react. So, I probably, unfortunately, put it back on the coaches, and I know we've got Vossi, but there's a bit of an assistant shake-up, which is good. I'm not sure our guys have it drilled into them to fall back into, how and when to defend the ball and when things start going against us. So, it can't all be on the players. It can't be 20 blokes out on the field who are all having a mental breakdown at the same time. I think a lot of it is system, and I suppose I'd be putting the pressure on Vossi to find a way to address it.
Yeah, if it doesn't improve next season, then it's he's gone. He's gone.
But a lot of people say about Vossi that he's got certain strengths and weaknesses. So as a strength, he's a great motivator.
Yeah.
And he plays with great passion and he coaches with great passion. But they say his weakness is that he's not a great strategist. And he doesn't really he doesn't work on the systems and the type of game plan. He's not as strong on some of those areas. So I would say if that's the case, then he really needs some of his, a senior assistant or two that has those sorts of skills, and then that might complement him.
Yeah.
Ken Hinkley is
I've watched
a great motivator, been successful, so it can be done.
Yeah, really, Vossi's, you couldn't respect a footballer more than Vossi in the way he went about the game. But I've watched Jeff White, the Melbourne ruckman, break down. He does I suppose a podcast, and he's done some. He's focused a little bit on Carlton this year and some breakdowns of the way we move the ball and the way we position ourselves. And he's had some really great insights that probably don't paint us in a very good light. In the way that we defensively set up and the way that we get led to the ball, and it's easy for teams to cut through us. So, I suppose the silver lining might be that there's huge ground for improvement, and hopefully we can pick some of that low hanging fruit.
Yeah, true.
I think we've got rid
Henry's,
of Aaron Hamill was our defensive sort of senior defensive coach. Does that sound right?
Yeah, he's gone. I mean, most of the assistants are gone. So-
Some left on their own accord, probably because they wanted to be avoided having a sacking to their name, I think. I don't know. But yeah, there's been a max exodus, not just player, but also coaching. Graham Wright, agent of change, is looking likely. Should we go into some of those trade off-season news that we've already received? Henry?
Yeah, let's
Is there
hear
any
from Henry.
questions?
We haven't heard. We better hear from Henry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Henry.
yeah, that would be good.
Sorry, mate. This is my one
spoken.
opportunity for the year. So
Oh, don't
Yeah.
worry. I've been calculating the time I haven't spoke for. I haven't spoken in 21 minutes. So, appreciate the concern.
Oh my God.
Well, you've all really summed that up pretty much on the dot. So, yeah, I'm happy to get into some trade news like we did last pod. Just a bit of a recap. The week that was this week was a very quiet week, though. Really not much to
Early
come out of.
week was busy-ish,
Yeah,
and then it slowed
absolutely.
down.
Like, no news is good news. So,
Yeah.
no more players have left. No more coaches have left. Or the VFL one has. I don't know what his name is. Kind of forgot.
Luke Power.
Luke Power,
Luke
that's the
Power.
one. Yeah, delve into some trade news. So, Louis, kick us off. Or
Okay.
one of the
Best way is I just like to look through some of the posts I've done to see, recount back. So to start off the week, on the Sunday night, we got video that Vossi backing in or being affirmative that Curnow will stay. So he says, in quotes, he'll be playing at Carlton next year. Then we another twist in the tail. Late on the next day, we find out through Mitch Cleary that Charlie Curnow has met Dean Cox. It just goes back and forth. It's really confusing. We're probably not going to know much until trade period when they can actually do these things. What do you make on the Curnow situation?
I reckon he's going to go myself, and I just hope we get something really good for him because he's one of our best players. He's one of the best key forwards in the competition, but the hard thing is once you get a sense a player really wants to walk out the door, it's actually quite hard to keep him. And so it depends on how big a fuss he or his manager makes.
Yeah.
You can always hold him to his contract, of course, but that could be a bad outcome for us. If someone like Sydney or Geelong wants him, they've got some very good players. I need to put them up. I mean, I don't want to lose Curnow, but the reality is if he wants to go, you make sure you get really good value for him. And both those clubs have got some excellent players. So they should be able to trade something decent for us.
Yeah. I feel like we have the superiority in the situation because the ball's in our court. We can somewhat decide on whether we keep him or trade him and what we get out from it. Whether we win from it, I don't know. That's more of a longer term assessment, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say a couple of things. I think Louis. I'm a bit frustrated with I suppose the media back and forth. I think it's good to take a step back and realise that we're Carlton. We have an enormous following. We're a pretty passionate supporter base, and the journalists know that anything that they push out into the ether that's Carlton related is going to get lots of traction. So this is why they sort of throw things from every angle. I'm not sure how much merit. I reckon there's 10% merit in what you hear about Carlton, and 90% just trying to bait the supporter group.
I have banged on about that a few times too this season.
Yeah,
Sure.
but I think the Charlie decision is really key about where we go list wise. I think if losing Jack and Tom and likely Elijah, who are our sort of middle core, they're all in sort of mid-20s, and the players that we could reasonably expect to improve over the coming seasons. Losing them, if we lose Charlie on top, I think we're back in reset territory. We know what our older. I mean, we enter next year with 6 or 7 30-plus-year-olds. We know what they're going to give us. Unfortunately, between sort of draft whiffs and now a few players wanting out, we don't have that great core coming through in their mid-20s with 60, 70, 80 games under their belt. So I think if Charlie goes, it probably shifts our focus as a club back to youth and getting some draft picks and some young guns back into the side, because I'm not sure that we're going to be able to thread the needle with the list that we do have, in terms of deep finals or premiership success.
Do you think he's going,
It's a big
Lenny?
deal. I really don't know. I think it's a bit like the Bryce Gibbs situation, in that unless we're overwhelmed with an offer, he's Charlie bloody Curnow. He's pretty handy, and he's the sort of player. And I know he hasn't done great things in finals, but he's the sort of player that could really put a team over the top. So. Yeah, I mean, if there's a really good offer out there for him, I hope we take it, because I think we need to as a list. But I wouldn't be at all. I'm 50-50. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there round one come next year.
We saw last year Petrarca in a similar situation where I don't think he was happy, but then. Nothing eventuated. So, and Melbourne were quite affirmative too that he'll be staying. So maybe it could be a similar situation to that. And then he actually played on this year pretty well too. So never know. But if he was to stay, you'd expect some pretty hard conversations to make sure that our culture-wise is quite sound. Because apparently, according to Sam Doherty, I saw a interview he did.
As our younger supporters, Louis and Henry, what would you like to see with Charlie? I mean, he gets so much focus for the younger supporters of our club and the Charlie's crew and all the rest of it. He puts bums on seats, exciting to watch. What do you guys want to see play out with Charlie?
Well,
Henry?
I mean, it's a really confusing, chaotic sort of situation. I'm actually looking at my post now, and one post goes, Curnow wants out. The next post is Curnow will stay at Carlton. And then the next post is Curnow meets with Dean Cox. It's just a really chaotic and just a weird situation. Like, the media draws so much attention basically on Charlie Curnow, especially this trade period. Like, as soon as the Tom De Koning thing moves on, the Jack Silvani thing moves on, it's straight on to Charlie Curnow. It just feels like everything's just gone straight onto there in that situation. Look, as much as I want him to stay, I also want what's best for the club, and if that means that we have to move Charlie Curnow on, then that's what we're going to have to do. And if that means Charlie Curnow's lining up in round one, I'm all for it. As long as you're playing for the monogram, then I'm pretty happy with him staying. I'd be pretty devastated if he left, but yeah, just basically doing what
we're losing you.
Club needs to do. You've lost me. Oh no.
It's sort of fine on our end.
I think you're swinging around on your seat a bit, and
oh, there we go. Yeah, I was sitting on a cord. That's probably why. That doesn't help anyone. Yeah, look, It's just a really chaotic situation. I You stay, you go. It's very 50-50. Not too sure. The media draws a lot of attention to themselves, and yeah, who knows?
Yeah. As a younger person, for me, I think
What do you think, Louis?
it's harder for younger people to let go of these types of players who are obviously draw us in, because we grow up with them, right? So you see them play, you look up to them, and then now we suddenly have to let go of our sentimental following of them. So look, I'm trying to grasp the thought of him leaving. I think I've dealt with Silvani and TDK leaving pretty well too. So I feel like I could cope with Charlie Curnow leaving. So look, it's just about, you have to think about the reality of the situation and what's best for the direction of the club.
What do you guys think of Silvani leaving, Henry?
Yeah, and so on this sorry, mate, you go.
What
I was just going to ask Henry, what do you think of Silvani leaving?
Yeah, sorry, delay.
Well, as Dad knows, I grew up adoring Jack Silvani. Just loved him to bits. Number on the back of the jersey. I think I've actually got it over here somewhere. It's just over there. When I was like, what would I be, like 6 maybe? I think I was like 6. I had the number on the back and everything. Grew up, just grew up loving him. So it has. I think that's hurt more than the TDK one.
Sure.
But yeah, look, he's doing what's best for his family. He's gone back to his father, which I was a little bit annoyed about, but who knows? I mean, I'm happy for him, but at the same time, I'm still pretty cut that he's left. Not really sure what to think about it. Just didn't expect this to occur at all. I think it came out of the blue on a random Sunday night that Collingwood had interest in Jack Silvani. It was reports, don't worry about it, all this kind of stuff, and then one story leads to another, and then it's just all ramped up from there. So it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, but we'll move on.
Yeah, I used to. That's some of the reasoning why I've drawn away from the media thing. Sorry about the delay.
Sorry, Lenny.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a little bit less than diplomatic now that we're talking about Jack. I'm absolutely bloody gutted. He's been probably my favourite player to watch for the last couple of years, and again that word unconditional. He's just such a smart footballer, and and he gives his all. I mean, really, he looked all Australian caliber when he was in early this year at centre half back. So he really looked like the missing piece for us. So I'm all the reasoning aside, just on an emotional level, I'm really gutted that he's leaving the club.
And if you're a little bit older, like myself and Lenny, and you watched his old man run around, who really was one of the best backmen I've ever seen, before or since, and knowing how Silvani is the name synonymous with the club, it is really disappointing to use that word. Frustrating to see him go to another club. What appears to be, I don't think it's just money either. I think there's something there. He's fallen out. I don't know whether it's Voss or someone else. He's fallen out with some people, clearly, and unhappy at the club, and is gone.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you put out a very heartfelt Instagram post saying that he'll always be a Carlton person and that he loved the club. But, I mean, if you truly loved the club, you'd stay. So, I mean, that undermines his reasoning there. And he's gonna cop it. St Kilda Carlton is gonna be absolute popcorn. It's gonna be one of the best games of the season, theatre wise. I'd love to be there just with the crowd, the back and forth between probably Carlton and St Kilda fans. Both TDK and Silvani were going to get absolutely booed. Oh, and who else? Oh no, none of the other players are going to St Kilda, I don't think. Yeah.
Who knows? They want every.
Well, taking Petty Dow as well.
Dow,
And
Stocker.
On top of the three that are there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I hope it's not just because his old man doesn't like us either and wants to poach him. Stephen Silvani said he had nothing to do with it. I'm a bit suspicious. He's the list manager after all.
Yeah,
I don't think you can be the list manager for the club and not have any say in bringing someone like that to the club. Anyway, that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, and they can say that.
I
do
think though, if I wonder if as a club we've taken liberties with Jack.
Liberty, yeah.
Sorry, I might be a bit on delay. I wonder a little bit if we've taken liberties with Jack. He was, pre-knee, his last contract, he was the last man signed. He's an unrestricted free agent, and we didn't really engage him apparently until I think late June this year with his contract. I can understand if maybe he wasn't feeling the love from Carlton. And obviously there's 3 or 4 teams out there who were happy to offer him, a 4 or 5 year contract. I mean the injury question has been an issue with him over his career, but just in terms of his football output, I'm not. He might be worth what St Kilda are offering him.
I think he's still got plenty of good years of footy in him too.
What was I gonna say?
The other
compensation for TDK. No, for Silvani. I don't know. What is it, Henry?
It's like a band one combo or something like that. Combo.
Well, apparently due to his age, it might be a lower first round.
End of first round.
It's a bit of a black box, the old AFL compensation stuff, if you ask me. Oscar Allen leaves West Coast and they get the number 2 draft pick overall.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a bit of a lottery.
You guys would know over in Perth. There is nothing surer than Oscar Allen than the Eagles getting picked. Is it 2 for Oscar Allen? It's AFL makey uppy, and we'll get an end of first round if we're lucky for Jack. Yeah, I mean but that's part of my gripe, if you like. I think it's AFL make up their rules as they go along around compensation for trade unrestricted free agents. I think they know that they needed to give West Coast a leg up, so they're happy to give them number 2 draft pick. I think it's just a bit.
Yeah, all we do is get fed WA news here, so, and the newspapers are very one-sided.
I don't feel so sorry for West Coast either, because they have traded away their high draft picks repeatedly, and they've only actually got 2 high draft picks on their top 10 draft picks on their list, despite being rubbish for so long, because they've kept on splitting them. And anyway, this is not a pod about West Coast, so so we know the other guy's leaving. There's 3 guys we know that's leading, other than the delisted players. Is Elijah Hollands probably. That one for me is disappointing because I thought he had real X factor potential. There was times last year when he just turned it on, and he was just the difference at times. And it's just such a shame that there's clearly other things not happening on the field, which have got in the way for him. And it was a very blunt assessment from Michael Voss to say, what you've done off field's not stacked up, on your bike. So that's another experiment that's not worked out in the long run, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, for 1 year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd agree, Marty. And he's a sorry, Louis. Yeah, Elijah's a bit of a local boy for us where we are too. He's Wodonga, only half an hour away, so it was good to have someone local running around in navy blue, and he made us look better on field. He has a skill set that we desperately need. yeah, I mean, obviously there's bigger factors at play. It sounds very definite that one way or another we won't see him again in navy blue. Such a bloody shame because yeah, so good with ball in hand.
Maybe that was another reason why some of our disposal efficiency and efficiency inside 50 was quite crap. Maybe let's go into some of our trade targets. Henry?
I want to touch on one bloke before we go into the trade targets.
Okay.
Sorry, but the alarm went off. Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh dear.
Okay,
this has
who
been-
are you touching on?
Did we lose Henry?
Yeah, we lost him.
Okay.
So, this has been probably the worst technical difficulty episode we've ever had. The Wi-Fi thing at the top keeps going up. I don't know where it's
Yeah, I know where
outside
he
of
is. He's not lost.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
The alarm
Okay.
went off for the medication. But one bloke I want to touch on is Mitch McGovern. So I want to get your
Oh, yeah.
thoughts on him and what do you think will happen there? Will he stay? Will he go? Don't really care if he stays, to be honest. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I reckon he's been offered something, probably a small contract on not so much money, and probably for maybe like 1 year, max 2. But I think he's looking elsewhere already, and we'll find out some more news soon. I think that's going to break.
I think one thing that told you all the things you need to know is the fact that we deliberately sent him out the last 2 games.
Yeah.
When if he played, he would have had a guaranteed extra year.
Yeah.
So clearly we don't, we're happy for him to explore other options. He could get 1 year only because Jack Silvani and Harry O'Farrell are not playing next year.
Yeah.
So that could save his skin. Who knows? We do need some depth down back, but I don't think it's very high in the club's priorities, clearly.
Yeah. And there was some interview.
You're right.
Lenny?
There was an interview.
I was just going to say, circumstances fall in his has. Sorry, delay. I was just going to say, Louis, yes, I'd agree, Marty. Circumstances fall in his way, but he is the exact sort of player that I would be very happy for Carlton to move past. As good as he can be in moments, he's for mine always been a conditional type and high on talent and sometimes low on application. So I don't think it would be a bad thing for Carlton to move past.
He's not going to get better, is he?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Not a chance.
Yeah. So maybe you're better in investing someone that can actually contribute with some run and poise. So I think Gov is another one that will be part of the mass exodus that will leave.
Yeah, I'd be happy for him to go. I think if the type of club that would suit him is a club that's just a piece or two away from challenging for the flag, because he's not a long-term player. He's only going to give you a year or two. His best is it's good, but Lenny's exactly right. He doesn't always apply himself, but you never know if he's in a premiership contending team for a year or two, a bit like Stewie Dew all those years ago. You never know. He might help.
Maybe it's best coming over here to West Coast. I think he's got family over here. Probably originally from here, too. I think he's originally from here.
There's a bit of the Gary Rowans about him, I think. When Gary went to Geelong, again, probably a player who was a little bit maligned, but had obvious skill, and so he might be able to add a bit to a Geelong, or not that Sydney did well this year, but that's the sort of list where I could see him maybe making a difference.
True. Yeah.
Definitely.
And then I think another sort of shock was Chincotta getting delisted. Part of the August 28th massacre.
Oh, God.
That was not a good date.
Was it really that much of a shock, though?
Oh, for
In
me
the
it
end?
was.
I mean, I thought Tim Cotter was, he had a good year a year or two ago, probably 2 years ago, and I mean, he's made the most of his opportunity. This is a guy who's a VFL player most of his career, but I think probably the last year or two have been down on output. So
Yeah, an injury kind of cruelled him too. Some hip injury or something to start off this year. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
I suspect his hips are worse than maybe we acknowledge, because he was at one game. Maybe it was only against West Coast, but one game this year he looked amazing, and then the next few weeks he could barely touch the ball.
Yeah.
He still had pace, which we need, and he was neat by foot, which we need. But my gut feel is that his injury scenario is worse than might be publicly acknowledged.
Yep. And I mean, I think he still did his job tagging, but it looks like we found Cooper Lord in that sort of role now. He was able to keep Noah Anderson, Sarong, and where was it, Rosie, I think, to minimal disposals. So maybe he's the future we go.
I'm driving the Cooper bandwagon.
Yes.
I just wanted to also touch on the retirement of Sam Doherty.
Yeah.
Doherty, for those of us watched the club play for a while, he has been an absolute servant of the club. He's faced 2 bouts of cancer, I think 2 to 3 knee reconstructions as well, come back time and time again. Him coming back in the same season he had an ACL last season was astonishing. The game did pass him by a bit this season, unfortunately, and that happens to all players. So it was time.
Yeah.
But he made a massive contribution to the club.
Yeah.
Really.
And he was pretty good, pretty honest player in the media space too. So you can find out quite a lot about.
We're talking about I think a dual All Australian at his best.
Yeah.
Off the halfback flank. Yeah. In some bleak years, he's given us some of our best moments in recent years. So I thought it was good that it was perhaps quite definitive this year that it was time to give it away. And you could, as they say, go out with just a little bit left in the tank, which I think he did. So he'll have offers coming from everywhere in terms of assistant coach or somewhere in a footy department.
Yeah, or media space. He seems reasonably involved in that area too lately.
I reckon I still remember that time against Melbourne where he took that mark and then played on to kick it long to Acres.
Yeah.
So he'll always have that, one of our greatest passages to play deep into that semi-final. So, yeah.
Only to Dr. Acres.
Great moment it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Waiters just got robbed of a mention.
Oh, yeah. He set it up all with the corridor kick and intercept.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. By far the best football moment I've ever had was right there and right then.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some trade. Or let's just get into some people that we're actually targeting. Not many names that really catch my eye apart from the Sam Flanders one. So, looking at Flanders, Buku Kalamus, Liam Reedy, Campbell Chester, Ned Reeves, and then the listed West Coast player, Jack Petricelli.
I tell you what, we've seen a fair bit of the West Coast players, and I say one thumbs up and one thumbs down there. I think Campbell Chester's a young player with a fair bit of talent.
Yeah.
And he's faced a few injury concerns, but in his last 2 or 3 months at West Coast has been pretty good. He's clearly got a bit of ability there. But Petricelli's past it. And if you can't get a game at West Coast, and they're one of the worst teams I've seen in a long, long time, there's no way we should be chasing him.
No.
He doesn't use the ball well for starters. And everything that all of us have said, why would you bring someone like that in?
Yeah.
And Reedy is, you guys might have seen more of him over there. He's sort of a little bit left field. He's coming up a lot. So, I mean, the interest seems relatively well confirmed. But some of the more, I think some of the feedback I've seen from Dockers fans isn't too complimentary. Have you guys seen much of him?
He's been a bit of a fringe player at Fremantle, and so I'm a little bit surprised that we're entering.
But we need to, because of Tom de Koning leaving. We want a ready-made ruckman who can translate straight into us and maybe is the best option out there. And he's been relatively solid in the waffle, apparently. So, I mean, we don't watch Peel much unless they play against East Perth.
He is behind
Yeah.
Sam Darcy and Luke Jackson, who are very formidable players. Darcy's not probably past his best, but Luke Jackson is an absolute champion. So I haven't seen a lot of him, but maybe he's got potential.
Yeah. Fremantle are reportedly interested in or want him to stay still. So, I mean, he's had a contract offered probably from both us and Fremantle still. And back to Chesser as well. I think the West Australian was reporting that both Carlton and West Coast were offering similar deals with amount of years, 2 years, and same amount of money.
I think the West seemed reasonably confident he was coming to us.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, look, he seems like the sort of kid we should be taking a flyer on. Relatively low investment, moderately high draft pick. I wouldn't know him if I bumped into him, but supposedly good by foot. So that's something we could do with a little bit of.
He's crafty by foot. He reminds me a little bit of Lockie Cowan and how Lockie Cowan's come on. Lockie Cowan's probably been our best player off half back in terms of setting up attack for us. And those kind of guys are very handy. Good by foot, clever, make good choices.
So tick to that potential inclusion, and probably tick to Liam Reedy in my eyes. Certainly not to Petruccelli, and we haven't spoken about Buku Karmas. He's a bit of a swingman, might be able to improve our depth, but I think he's looking for gains. So if we can't say to him, "Oh, you will play this like a lot of games for us," then he might not want Carlton. I don't know.
Yeah, there is reports that we have met with Buku Karmas apparently, so I think that's a likelihood to happen, but not 100%.
I think if we look at his size and his type, I mean, he appears to be sort of the old-fashioned utility. We've lost Jack. I think McGovern doesn't come back. So in terms of that swingman who could potentially, and Kemp's coming back from, the road back from an Achilles is seldom smooth. I think just in terms of on his size alone, he's probably going to play quite a few games next year should he come to Carlton.
Yep. He is contracted, so we're going to have to offer up a bit for him. And Bulldogs are notoriously known for being quite hard to deal with. So might be a bit of a tussle between Carlton management and Western Bulldogs management for that one.
We should have some Matt Kennedy tickets in our favour, though. They've done pretty well there.
Yes.
That will haunt me to this day. That'll haunt me until his career's done.
I know it looks bad with Matt Kennedy going to Western Bulldogs and playing really well. The one thing I'd say in the club's defence there, all the things that we lacked this year, we lacked pace. We lacked the ability to move the ball quickly and inside 50. We lacked that sort of raking left foot or, really good delivery by hand. Matt Kennedy is a real workhorse, but he's also a little bit like Georgie Hewitt, who ended up probably is going to win our best and fairest. So it was probably between him and Hewitt. So I think, as good as he's played for Footscray, I don't know if he's the reason why we haven't succeeded this year.
Yeah. And he contributed to our ability to get Harry O'Farrell too. It looks like a gun. So, and that's what we need. We need someone with wages.
It's a win-win situation. All I'll say about Kennedy, again, he's another localish type to us. The times Henry and I have been at the club, he's been the the warmest, the most approachable, the most outgoing, and you'll never hear a bad word on Matt Kennedy from us. He's wherever he is, we wish him the best.
Yeah,
Pretty-
I've
pretty
heard he's
cool.
a nice guy too. So,
Yeah.
I was disappointed to see him go, but I can kind of understand the decision.
When we analyze players, I think it's both the podcasts, we never like to delve into the personality or internal sort of player issues or whatever. It's more about their game that we'll analyze. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Any more?
I think that's a really good point, Louis. Sorry, I just want to touch on that. I think, and Carlton could do more of that. The important bits are from the first bounce to the last siren, and the players that make us better. And there's so much football coverage, and we get so invested in the players and perhaps what they do off field. Old Carlton used to worry about what players could do between the first bounce and the last siren, and I think we could do with a little bit more of that. So that's a good approach from you and Henry.
I think so, and sometimes you see people in the media too much scuttlebutt about players' personal lives. And stuff.
Jamara Uga-Hagan has copped it from Caroline Wilson. I hate Caro. I think it's reasonable for us to rip into her. Caro Wine. Yeah, she's probably one of the worst instigators of that.
Yeah.
We have a lovely view of your ear, Henry.
Sorry. I'm writing stuff down, mate.
That's great.
So how do you think we're going to go in the trade period? Is there anything else any other types of players that we should be hunting for? Anything we missed there that we should be going for next season? I'll say one thing we haven't covered off on, and that's that even though we traded away our first draft pick, we've got Jagger Smith, who's going to be a draft pick effectively for us because he hasn't played a game. We've probably got a top 10 draft pick in Harry Dean coming to us on the father-son, which is exciting. And we're almost certainly going to get a first-round draft pick for TDK. We've got compensation for Jack Savani somehow, somewhere. So I don't think we're going to do too badly under the draft, actually.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah, excited for Harry Dean. Peter was one of my absolute favourites, and actually I got to play a couple of games with him in awful bush footy later in my career. So that's always right to mention. No, look, I think we're in a relatively good position in terms of younger players coming in and Walker next year, hopefully. And I hope the club are smart in that it sort of redirects us more towards a youth orientation. I think in real terms, I think this is Walsh's and maybe Wiedering's team now. I think, I probably, in terms of guys coming into the club, I really only want to see players younger than perhaps, Walsh and Wiedering and McKay. I think they're sort of our next opportunity, if you like, to get back up to the pointy end of the ladder.
Yeah, we're going to keep the ones that want to stay and most level-headed. What was it, Henry? You seemed...
That's something I actually wanted to touch on was the leadership team and what we think will actually happen there, because there will definitely be some changes. I definitely think Curnow will 100% not be in there next year. I would be generally shocked if he was there. Be more shocked than TDK and his exiting. But what are our thoughts on the leadership team for next year, and what's probably the best approach that we can sort of use?
I reckon Sam Walsh would be a fantastic captain of the club. And no disrespect to Wiedering, because Wiedering's just been a real rock. But he's that little bit younger. But I think he's capable of being really inspiring, Sam Walsh. Former number 1 draft pick. Everyone said he's got a really mature head on his shoulders. As long as he can stay out in the park a long time, he could be one guy that really steps up next year and gives us a bit. And I think he's the kind of guy that the other guys will rally around as a captain. And I feel a bit for Cripps. Cripps has done it for ages. He's carried the club for so long. I think it'd be good for him just to focus on getting his body right and probably playing a little bit more time up forward and not being in the clinches all the time like he's been forced to be.
Yeah, it would make sense if he was to drop down, because we've seen Walsh and Wiedering show potential leadership. The only thing about Walsh is I think he might not get it until he actually signs a contract. Because we're going to be wary of him leaving, and then but maybe
he sounded very emphatic.
Yeah,
I think he loves the club.
But the problem is things can change so quickly. We've seen that with Silvani. He said he loves the club back in was it May, maybe? I think.
Yeah, April, I think.
Yeah. And then also Charlie Curnow at the start of the season say they both love the club, and now the one is gone, the other is looking likely. Or maybe more like 50-50. So look, I think we're going to have to be wary for that as well. They'll take that into account, I think.
Yeah,
I think I'd agree with everything that's said there. Cripper has absolutely nothing left to prove as a leader. And I think his game can only benefit by perhaps taking a little bit of the responsibility off his shoulders. I think Walsh is perhaps the obvious one. I think Wieders is, I think I won't say he's an odd individual, but I think he's a slightly different individual and maybe not as well suited to captaincy as Walsh appears to be. So I think Wieders might always be a leader in his way, but I think Walsh is probably ticks more boxes for mine. So look, it makes sense. I think it's his team to inherit, and I think there's perhaps I'd say Lockie Cowan would be the other one that I see coming through with some leadership potential. To a lesser degree, Lord. I mean, these guys, we don't want to put pressure on them. We want them to be able to play their game, but I think there's some types
Ollie.
coming through that I like the look of.
Maybe.
Yeah, Ollie, good. Yeah, good one as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Another question is our leadership group too small? Is there leaders within the team who should be promoted just so that we can give them more accountability, like Sard maybe, or Haynes, or Mackay, Akers if he stays? Yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't think titles matter. Sorry, Henry, you go, mate.
For me, I've actually got a list written down. I think we'll have 5 in the leadership team if we can actually do that. I think we can, because North have got like 6 or 7 in there. Leadership team. At number 1, I've got Walsh, just because, he's shown a lot of signs, and that no bullshit mentality comment that he made in, I think it was the second last game. I really, really liked that. It just shows that he's all in. Second, I got Wiedering, because he's came out this year and said some really, really important things that I think the fan base needed to actually hear. I think the one that caught my eye was for the players that want to stay, they'll stay. For the players that want to go, they'll go.
Yeah, he's
I really liked that. At 3, I got Cripps. Obviously, he'll still remain in the leadership team because he's just been an unbelievable leader year in, year out. I think he brought up 150 games captaincy this year in round 19, I'm pretty sure it was. For 4th, I've got Ollie Hollins. I just see him being a really, really good leader. He's shown a lot. He's shown some outstanding improvement in his game, but not only his game, but it seems on field as well. Like telling guiding the younger blokes on really kind of what to do, and I've heard some really, really good things about him. And the 5th one I've got is Harry Mackay. I think if Charlie is to go, then it's up to Mackay to kind of lead them. Younger talent, he's obviously been in the game for a lot of years. He can definitely bring a different point of view to the younger guys, and I think it's a really important job for him just to, I don't know, kind of say that he says he's really emphatic on staying at Carlton, really loves the club. I think he'd be a perfect fit in the leadership team. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. I think the real only big change you'll see this year is Cripps won't be captain in 2026, is my opinion. But other than that, probably no real surprises on my end.
Yeah, fair enough. Lenny?
Is there anything
Yeah,
else
look,
that we
I'm
need to cover?
probably a little bit old school. I like a captain and a vice captain, and the rest I'm not that fussed about. Yeah, look, if it's Walsh and Wiedering as our number 1 and 2 next year, the rest of the guys can lead in their own way. I mean, Nick Haynes is a leader in a fashion. Nick Newman's a leader in a fashion. You don't need a title to lead, so. I sort of like the KISS principle. Keep it simple and go from there.
Fair enough.
Louis, did you have your say?
I started it.
Okay. Now I've said enough on that piece. Yeah. So.
Yep. Any other questions?
Not that I've got, no. Unless the two dads have questions for us, Louis.
Oh no.
So I'll have one last question for me for Henry and Louis. Where do you think we'll finish on the ladder next year?
Oh God.
Oh no, that's a bad thing to ask Louis that question. Oh no.
Yeah, because I am a delusional fan. Flaggers 2025. Well, when I started at 2024 was quite delusional. I don't think we'll finish top 4. We'd probably finish like 7th, maybe, if we want any sort of chance. But look, I could see it as being a complete repeat of this year. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Can't beat the top teams, but beat most of the below teams.
Yeah.
Henry?
I see us in between that 9th to, I'd say, 6th. I think somewhere in there would do good. Definitely don't look like a top 4 team. We've got a lot of young blokes still developing, and a lot of young people to still come through, like Harry Dean. You look ahead, you've got Cody Walker, I think 2027. If we're in the 8, I'd be over the moon happy, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're to fall just short.
Yeah. I think next year, if nothing happens next year, the window's over.
And Lenny, what do you think?
Look, I think there's a lot of really strong squads at the moment, a lot of really strong teams. I think there's 6, 7, 8 teams that would legitimately think themselves a flag chance next year. I think it's probably not a bad time for us to think about a subtle reshaping of our list. So I don't mind if we don't play finals next year, as long as we're committed to call it a rebuild or a refurbish or a refresh or whatever you want to call it. As long as we're committed to a course of action, I don't particularly care where we finish next year. And of course, we've got Tassie on the horizon as well. So some compromise drafts coming up. So now's not a bad time for us to perhaps play it a bit cool and get some good young kids in. Look, all I'll say is to Louis and Henry, well done to you guys for flying the flag. It was easy for Marty and I growing up to follow the Blues. We won every bloody thing, and it actually takes some guts and some gumption to support teams when they're down. So I'll just take my hat off to you two. Very well done, and I hope you've picked up plenty more followers this year and go well again next year.
Thank you.
And just one last thing for me too, a little bit along the same lines. You guys done really well, and got some great guests coming on, which is fantastic. So hats off to you guys, and you've made some good partnerships with others like Jumper Punch and whatnot in the whole kind of community. And over here, Lenny, I think the WA Blues know who Louis is and whatever else, and they hunt him out there. And if you're ever looking for a trip over our way, we'd love to see you.
Yes.
We'd love to. I understand there's a big Carlton cohort in Perth.
We're one of the largest supported clubs outside the Dockers and Eagles.
Yeah,
Okay.
wow, that's great. So,
Mm.
no, we'll definitely make the effort at some point.
Yeah, sounds good. Henry, see us off.
Righto. Thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 45, and a big thank you to the two dads that did come on. We wish you both a very happy Father's Day. Enjoy your day. Most and foremost, go Blues.
Go Blues.
Up the baggers.